Greetings and welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm Samaj. This is Creating with Samaj. Every day we show up for 10, 15, 20 minutes and we take things out of us, out of our body, out of our heads, and we put it onto paper. And that's Helios. For those of you that have never met him or haven't heard him, this is what he looks like. And I don't know if you can see him or not, but he'll be joining us in the painting process today. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Go ahead and grab your supplies, your coffee, your tea, and let's go ahead and see what shows up today. Yesterday's session was fast and furious, and apparently so fast and furious that it never got uploaded. So I see that that was an issue, so it got uploaded earlier this morning, and I hope that you all get to see yesterday's session today. And it was inspired by a full moon on Sunday night that we had here, and apparently another full moon last night, which was apparently the full moon, but I'm not quite sure about that. So here we are at our page, seeing what's going to show up. Oh, by the way, of course, we always use our Canson XL, our praying watercolor, and let's make sure we get these wet a little bit before we begin today. And I feel a little discombobulated today, to be honest. I had a very full and furious day yesterday, and so I had my intuitive painting class, I had a whole bunch of errands to run, then my dog was sick and had to take him to the vet, so it was a very full day. But it led to a lot of curiosity, so I hope you watched yesterday's all about curiosity and where it leads. I hope you're being curious in your life and you're curious to see what shows up today. I think that today, we have to think about the things that we want to do and those things that we want to create in our lives. And those things sometimes require some planning. They also might require you to be in a comfort zone that may be unfamiliar to you, and unfamiliar territory generally leads to new discoveries. New discoveries about ourselves, what we can do, what we're capable of, what we thought wasn't possible suddenly becomes possible, all because we choose to put ourselves in a position that's a little different. So part of what we're doing here in this process of being creative is we're unleashing the potential that we have in us as we're curious to see what shows up. As we're curious to see how the things that we do what it does for us. So let's do a little painting today and see I think I'm going to start with doing a background first around these. Oh my goodness. You can hear in the other room, Mr. Emerald is being very loud. Mr. Emerald is being very noisy. Oh my goodness. So 2024 is in the record books, and we're in 2025 now. And this is the year, we talked about it on January 1st, or thereabouts. We talked about that this is the year that you're going to do the thing. And here we are at the second week of January. And have you given it some thought? Have you considered what the thing is that you're going to work on? Have you been curious to find out where it's leading and where it's going? Have you been participating in this painting experience? Have you been being a part of this exploration of your own self, discovering what you can do, and the joy it brings you? And the joy it brings you, just embracing that little kid in you, finding who that little girl or that little boy is that wants to discover and learn and see all that is possible when you are in that space of what is creative play. And creative play is so important for us. And like I always say, I think as adults, we don't play enough. We get locked up in adulting. And adulting, you know, they always say adulting is hard. And sometimes we can relieve that difficulty of adulting by remembering to tap into that little kid in us. I have to share that I live here in the Northeast, New York. New York, baby. And here in New York, we have this healthcare system called Northwell Health. And they're an organization that put together this really lovely amount of information this year for a commercial about how adults can relieve some stress. And it's all recommendations from little kids. And I think the kids are like from probably four to, I don't know, 10 or something. I don't know, somewhere. Ouch! Don't bite me! See, he just bit me in the neck. Don't do that. That really hurt. And that was very reactive, wasn't it? But that really did hurt. And so these kids have put together these suggestions for adults. And if I can find the video, I'll leave the link below so you can watch it, because it's just really fun listening to a child's perspective about how you can relieve stress. And I have to say, personally, I found a lot of them very good ideas. Very good ideas, because children, I think, are little sages. I always say that kids came from, you know, spirit or source the most recently, so they still have that level of intelligence and insight that is way, way, way deep. And they come in with so much love. They're like love infused. They're like little love bombs when they come in. It's the most delicious thing. Don't bite me. Stop doing that, please. He wants to sit on my shoulder, and then he decides that he wants to nibble me, which is not very pleasant. You little nibbler. Your little nibbles. I love you, but the nibbles hurt. The nibbles hurt. Because sometimes it's a nibble, and then sometimes it's just a bite. Like the nibble, the little nibble turns into a because he gets excited. Silly boy. Birds are funny things. They're a lifetime commitment. And they're very comical. If you like them, you do. If you don't, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. I had a friend who, years ago, she was deathly afraid of birds. Like, had a visceral reaction. One time I remember being out in the yard with her, and there was like a little bit of birds around, and she just freaked out. And I was like, what's the problem? She goes, oh, when I was young, I had birds that flitted and came into my hair, and ever since then, it's just been a horrible experience. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. It was very visceral for her, so. I love the little birdies. And I've had the most amazing experiences lately with eagles. They're like showing up all over the place. Yesterday on my way to my workshop, we drove, or we, me, myself, and I, the three of us, drove to our location and had to go through the Bashakil, and over the Bashakil, I got to see 4 eagles. And that was pretty spectacular. The Bashakil is a body of water in upstate New York. Not really upstate. That, I don't know, maybe it's a preserve. I don't know what's special about it, but it's called the Bashakil. Maybe it's just the body of water that it is. But part of that has the D&H Canal connected to it, which apparently at one time were the way that they connected the Hudson River and the Delaware River together. That's why it's called the D&H Canal, the Delaware and Hudson River line. And it was a 3 or 4 foot tow. It was like 12 feet wide or 20 feet wide and 4 or 5 feet deep. And it was a tow line that went from the Delaware River all the way over to the Hudson River. And there were little stations. And during the 1800s, they just took all sorts of transport people up and down. And it was a thing to go down the tow line, like a summer adventure. I will also leave a link for that below so that you can see that, some of the history here in our region. It's so funny growing up on the West Coast and reading about revolutionary heroes, and two of my biggest heroes growing up were both, listen to me, I'm going to tell you, and then the names just went right out of my head. Sojourner Truth, who I found out literally grew up and lived maybe 35 minutes from me here in Ulster County, New York. And the other is the woman who led everyone out of slavery through the Underground Railroad, and that is Harriet Tubman. And through this region, there are numbers of Underground Railroad houses. I'm just amazed to live in an area that has so much history attached to it, and the things that I appreciated growing up as a young person, and the things that I was really attached to. And it's just such delight to be so close to those things in my life now. Never, ever, ever, ever thinking that that was going to happen. And that's what's amazing about life. Things just happen without expectation, without understanding, without knowing. Okay, I guess that little... Sorry about that. Did you think it was a snake or something? Did that scare you? I guess it really scared you. Okay. I'm sorry for upsetting you so much, Helios. Okay, I was very upset by that. That seems to be the design that wanted to show up today for our time together today. You know, I always enjoy when we get to hang out together and we get to create and see what we can create. Whether we're creating our coloring book or we're just creating something to create something. Whatever we're doing it to play and to escape and to enjoy the experience of being creatives, because we are here to create, and when we create, it releases endorphins and dopamine and does all sorts of delicious things for us. And at the end of the year, we're going to have a whole array of artwork that was created that's going to be pretty magnificent. So I have to say, I always enjoy when you show up with me. I always enjoy when you take the time to take the time. And remember, wherever you are, I trust you have the most amazing day. I'm Samaj. This is Creating with Samaj. And until then,